I was up till, thanks so much, you guys. Thanks, Jesse, Dave, for serving in that way. Get connected. I was up until 2 o'clock in the morning last night, so if I stutter or say something, just don't tell Rob. We'll be all right. I had a great time there. A young man who's been in our young adult ministry got married last night, and there really is not too many. Well, old love is more beautiful than young love. But there's something about a young man and a young woman who love Jesus coming together, and there's just this great hope, you know. And for their marriage, they were both sold out to Jesus, and what a neat thing to see them begin their life together. I know that makes all the difference, and have seen in my parents when that doesn't happen, and when one person is passionate about Jesus and the other is not. I've seen it in marriages that fall apart, and so young men, hear well, find a woman who loves Jesus, pursue her, and you'll have a much better life than someone who does not. Speaking of young men, one of them, Jake, who Jesus is getting a hold of his heart. I knew him since he was like, I don't know, a little guy, and now he's bigger than me. It's not cool. Not only like taller, but like broader, and then I'm like broader this way. I feel insecure when you're next to me. No, it's so cool. Our young people just went on a trip to Philly to serve, and to see God get a hold of young men at this age is so significant, because young men will then influence their wives and their children and their workplaces, and the gospel will spread. And so neat to see God get a hold of young man's heart. So he's going to talk to you about his experience in Philly.
All right. On one aspect of it. But before I do that, I had to take you back to where I was feeling before the trip. And before we left, there had been one particular passage that I'd been wrestling with for a long time, and that's Matthew 18. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a little child and had him stand among them. And he said, "I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." And I thought that was really weird, because why on earth could it possibly be beneficial for me to be like a child? Children are foolish, they're naive, they believe anything. And why wouldn't God want me to learn and grow more in Him? Couldn't I have a closer relationship if I thought like an adult rather than a child? So we go on the trip, and each morning we went to a day camp for inner city kids. And working with these kids for 4 days, I learned more about this passage than I have from any commentary or any sermon I've ever heard preached on the subject. The children we were working with, if you studied them and worked closely with them like I was, you could start to pick up on certain patterns of their life, things that they had learned from possibly their parents or whoever were adult figures in their life. Particularly how they would react to a certain situation. If a child didn't get what he wanted, normally the first thing he would do is resort to a fist fight, which it's normal for a child to be upset if he doesn't get what he wants. It's perfectly normal to be selfish, but he would have to have seen that somewhere else in his life and then think, the first thing I should do is fight the person who's getting in my way. That's not something you just know instinctively. This was taught to him. But then, if I went to the child and I said, "Listen, you shouldn't do that. You need to be nice to your friends or you're going to run out really soon," we can just share the toy, whatever it was that they were fighting about. He was just as eager to listen to me as he was to the person who taught him that fist fighting was okay. And what I got from that is, even though he had already learned that fighting was a way to deal with whatever he was dealing with, he could still learn from me, and I could try to speak truth into his life. In the same way, if I approached God's Word with the mindset of, yeah, I've learned so much already, then I'm not going to learn anything from Him. I need to approach the Bible with the mindset of, God, please teach me something and let me learn something today. even if it goes against something that I've learned beforehand, even if it makes me uncomfortable, or even if it goes against something I think that I already know. I need to learn something today. And I think that's what it means to be like a child. Childhood is the age of learning, and it's much better to be able to learn than to hang on to anything that you've already learned. Thank you.